These are the best weapons in Monster Hunter Wilds. I actually reached out to several of the best speedrunners in the game, and they all consistently told me the same weapons. It doesn't look at all like it is up for debate right now. I am organizing a tournament with over $100 of a prize pool with No Hit Jerome this beta, and I had to talk to a bunch of speedrunners to work out the rule set, right? To figure out what's the best way to do this. And we came to the conclusion that several weapons had to be banned. In no particular order, from the feedback we got, we decided to ban the Gunlance, we decided to ban the heavy bowgun, we decided to ban the light bowgun, and the bow. But this video is not for the top of the world speedrunners. This video is for the normal everyday player. Let me assure you, for the speedrunners of this game, the meta is gonna get figured out pretty soon, and it is gonna be really annoying. Demon ammo. Also, quick disclaimer, I do not play every single weapon in the video. I am basing my claims on the things that the speedrunners told me. I will do my best to tell you which ones I do play and which ones I do not play. Monster Hunter Wilds introduces 3 new mechanics that will change the way that weapons work. The first one is the focus mode. If you are a melee weapon, you can now aim your weapon as if it were a ranged weapon, so you can with accuracy aim at the exact part of the monster you wanna hit. That goes in line with the second new mechanic, and that is the wounds. Now, in all of Monster Hunter, you could break a part of the monster. That was not new. But now, if you do enough damage on a part of a monster, you're gonna get a red glowy thing on it. And if you do more hits on it, you are gonna break it and you're gonna get a bunch of extra boom boom. Here's the thing, the really weird thing about the wound system that they implemented. The wounds in the game tend to care more about how many times you hit them than the damage that you actually do to them. So all things equal, a faster weapon is going to be better for popping the wounds, which do a lot of damage, which in my opinion is a big oversight, and that will probably be rebalanced. They are gonna probably have to tweak it at some point to make it fair for the slower weapons, which are having a bit of a hard time lately. As a matter of fact, I personally noticed that even your insect attacks, if you got an insect glaive, those can also proc the wounds, which is kind of overpowered if you think about it. But the third mechanic change, and it is in my opinion the biggest change, the most controversial change, is that now you can carry 2 weapons. You can carry a primary weapon and a secondary weapon, and you can freely swap between them in the middle of a fight. And that means, amongst many other things that we do not even fully understand yet, that you can benefit from a weapon while using another. And that's gonna take us to the first weapon I want to talk about, the heavy bowgun, because right now the meta is that the main weapon should be whatever hits the hardest, and the secondary weapon should be the weapon that gives you a buff. But what if you can do both at the same time with a single weapon and you don't care about anything? Welcome to the heavy bowgun, which is perhaps the most broken weapon in the game. Not only the heavy bowgun does a stupid amount of damage that makes no freaking sense, while staying on a safe distance, making the entire concept of Monster Hunter pointless, it also has some very quick combos that you can pop wounds with very easily, and what matters the most is that now you have access to demon ammo. Demon ammo was already in the previous games, but it was a support ability that you could only throw into a palico or a friendly teammate, and you would give them more damage. But now you can also use it on yourself. Demon ammo is gonna increase your base, your raw damage. It lasts 2 minutes, and the craziest part is you can swap out of the bowgun and use something else. So for example, you demon ammo yourself, and then you swap into a hunting horn, and you do 15% more damage as a buff, and you are doing 15% multiplied by demon ammo. You're doing an insane amount of damage, or vice versa. You can just hunting horn yourself and then go to heavy bowgun, whatever the way it is, okay? You can do a bunch of damage with it. It's stupid. I wouldn't be surprised if in the full release of the game they removed those interactions, because they are stupid. They do not make any sense. But for now, for the second beta, heavy bowgun is easily the second best, if not outright the best weapon in the game. Either primary or secondary, it doesn't even matter. Also, it is super easy, and even a watermelon that speaks Korean can play it. Shameful, but effective. The insect glaive is a weapon I loved in the beta. I didn't play it before, and I was kind of surprised when I saw the entire insect glaive community hating it because they played the one in Monster Hunter Worlds and they thought it sucked. I played it in the beta and I thought it was really good, so that even inspired me to try out Monster Hunter World and to see what's the difference that makes people think the one in Wilds sucks. And there has been some changes to the weapon. I will mention them because I got to play both, but I would define that the insect glaive has two main characteristics. Number one, it has a lot of aerial attacks. You can jump up in the air, you can bolt like a pole vaulter, same thing, you can bolt, and you can do attacks in the air. And the second defining feature is that you have a kinsect, a bug. You can throw a bug at people and the bug is gonna collect extracts. Those are combo points. You have 3 colors of combo points. Is this getting too complicated? Wait until you hear about the hunting horn and you can bring them back to you to buff yourself. And if you get all the extracts, you can do like a finisher move where you just spin up and it looks super cool and you do a quadrillion damage, and I like boom boom. Now in World, you have to manually target the kinsect into the monster, send it there, then pull it back, and you would have to do that over and over. And it was kind of really awkward because you even had to sometimes fish for a red extract because that's the one that gives you a bunch of damage. You cannot really play without it. So a lot of the fights, if you are unlucky and you do not get it early on, you have to fish there for a red extract looking like an idiot for like 10-20 seconds until it finally gets to you. For Wilds, you can still do that. You can still target your kinsect, so in a way you can kind of say it is a ranged weapon even though it is classified as melee. But you do not have to, because with your normal insect glaive attacks, your kinsect will automatically try to extract from the boss now. You don't have to pilot it anymore as much. Personally, I thought that was a really cool freaking change. Not that the insect glaive in World was bad or anything, but I thought it was a bit of a jankiness, a bit of a awkwardness in the gameplay that they just got rid of. It also makes it ironically quite a lot easier to play. The only real downgrade from World to Wilds is that they got rid of a lot of the combo attacks in the air. You cannot chain combos in the air and stay in the air for as long as you used to in World. And granted, there are some uses where being out to the ground for a while is kinda useful, for example Gipseros, but let's be honest here. Why are people mad? Because it looked really freaking cool when you did it, and you cannot look cool anymore. That's it. Capcom said they are gonna add a few moves to the insect glaive that is gonna fix that, but that's not gonna be in the present beta. But overall, I still recommend the insect glaive. First of all, it is really good for people that hate swapping weapons because you still can do ranged attacks when the bosses are running away, which is one of the main things that makes range an advantage over melee in Monster Hunter for speed killing, especially because when the monster flies away or runs away, you cannot reach it with your greatsword no matter how hard you hit, but with a ranged weapon you can, so that's more damage overall. Also, the insect glaive has a lot of really fast combos. They are very easy to pull off, so that means focus mode wounds are gonna be a lot easier to pop, and it does a lot of cutting damage. And one thing you're gonna realize about the beta is that all the monsters in the beta, including Gipseros apparently, we're gonna see about that, but most of the monsters in the beta, they kind of do not care about blunt damage at all. That is obviously not gonna be the case in the full game. Some mobs are gonna take more blunt damage than others, but in the beta it is kind of like overrepresented, so to speak. I wouldn't say that the insect glaive is anybody's first guess, but if you like it, there is no reason that you shouldn't play it in Wilds. It is a pretty good weapon. Next is gonna be the hammer, which I absolutely hate to play. I just hate slow weapons, and the hammer is perhaps the slowest weapon in the game. That doesn't mean I don't understand the appeal. First of all, the hammer has very good AoE. You can hit a bunch of multiple targets at the same time. It has very easy to land swings in general, and many of its combos give you hyper armor or make you otherwise immune to knockbacks and pushbacks, so you can just focus on hammering the most down. So that's a huge advantage for the average player. Overall, the hammer is a lot easier to aim, and if you do not like focus mode, if you are a controller player for example, that is also a great reason to play hammer. However, I tried the hammer and in my opinion the animations feel like ass in Wilds. Not that I would know how the previous games felt because I never played hammer, but it really felt like ass. And because of the blunt damage, which is not very good in the beta because of the monster choices Capcom made, it's not gonna be that way in the full release, but here, and also because of the slow swing speed, popping wounds is kind of unreliable. It's still a really good choice and the damage output is really decent, so I can understand why it is a fan favorite even if I hate it. Now for another fan favorite, we're gonna talk about the Greatsword. The Greatsword is a weapon that Capcom is never gonna allow to be bad. It is pretty much the main weapon, the most iconic weapon in the game. It is even the weapon they design first in every Monster Hunter game to try out the combat. And that kinda makes sense. If you cannot make a monster feel cool when you're hitting it with a big old sword, probably you have a problem with the combat. It has one blocking move. That's it. We're not gonna touch it. Blocking is lame. We do not block in this game. Okay, no. I dare say, talking to many speedrunners, that Greatsword seems to be the most straightforward melee weapon in the game. There is a bunch of fancy tricks that I neither care to talk about or to learn, but if you spam the same 3-hit combo of triangle, circle, triangle over and over, apparently that is almost all there is to know about it. Another noob-friendly aspect of the Greatsword is the charge attack. Now for a high-level player, that is just another way, another move, another trick to get a little more damage, but for a new player, a player that relies on things like traps or chasing a monster and waiting for it to go to sleep or things like that, having the ability to do a super strong attack that you can charge is actually crucial for getting the most out of those situations, the most for cheesing the fight. They are cheesing the fight, yes, I said it. I am never not gonna recommend the Greatsword, even though it is not even the best sword in the game, because the best sword in the game, it is the longsword and it's not even close. The longsword is faster, it has more movement options, and currently, and I said currently because it is most likely gonna get nerfed, it has a lot of boom boom. Also, the longsword has even more range than most of the Greatsword's attacks, and there is also a thrusting move that is really convenient for repositioning. There is a lot of mobility in the weapon in general, which makes it not only faster, not only easier to play, but also you can attack while you dodge the boss, and that makes it so you can overall pump out a little more damage with a longsword that you would do with a weapon that does the same damage but isn't a longsword. The longsword has a spirit bar. It is like a warrior's rage in World of Warcraft, if you want an analogy. All you gotta do is do a bunch of damage with it and it charges up. You can charge it up, you fill the bar, and you can do it 4 times over and over. Every bar is a level, and when you hit the 4th level, that is the red spirit bar, you can do a lot more damage and you also unlock your super cool finisher move, which most people do not do. Most people tell me that the best way to play it right now is just to stay at level 4, just to stay maxed out and just keep doing damage to the boss to refresh it, and that usually is the best way to play it. The longsword's main strength is that it doesn't have any weakness whatsoever, it doesn't have any downside or any cost to anything. It is just absolutely perfect, and yeah, it is not too bright, but it is amazing, so you might as well play it. Turns out the Gunlance has the most damage in the game, which, I don't know, I didn't like it in the beta. I tried it, I thought it was really bad. Don't get me wrong, it was obvious that everything I did with it did a lot of damage. That part is very clear from the start, but the moveset felt, well, slow and very janky. Everything I did, no matter what, it kept draining my stamina like when you nut and she keeps sucking. It felt awful. I am not a Gunlance player, and I do not plan to be one, but for the people that choose to master it, there is clearly a very good reason to do so. I do not recommend it for a new player at all. Then we have the Hunting Horn. The Hunting Horn is not an easy weapon for you to play. I do not understand the slightest thing about echo bubbles. I swear to God, I tried to watch a 20-minute guide about it. I went out of the feed more confused than I started. I think at some point there were like notes and music involved in it. In all seriousness, okay, kidding aside, the Hunting Horn is easily the hardest weapon to pick up, and that is very sad because it is in theory the ideal secondary weapon. No matter what you do, you can buff your damage and go into a main weapon and do even more damage. The Hunting Horn will remain crucial for team play as it gets only better the more people they are around. That 15% extra damage adds up when you got 4 people getting it. But I only recommend it if you are an advanced player that can focus on the echo bubbles and the nodes while still trying to dodge the origami dragon trying to kill you, which is not the case for me at all. Or if you are a new player that really wants to play a healer, because the hunting horn is the closest thing to a healer we got in this game. The Switch Axe seems to be downgraded from the world version of the Switch Axe, where it apparently was one of the fastest weapons in the game if you follow the rankings. There is nothing I found offensive, something I found awful about the Switch Axe, but it's simply the damage is not there. It even has a lot of really fast combos, which in theory would make it really good for this game, but even still it doesn't feel right. A lot of players tell me the same, that they do not feel right using it. It is likely to get a lot more changes very soon. Maybe you wanna wait for full release before you pick it up. Another broken as hell weapon right now is the bow. There is nothing special about it, it just does a ton of damage for no reason, and it is currently the fastest weapon to kill right now. Of course, ranged weapons in general are the fastest to kill a flying monster, because every time it flies away you can still kill it. No matter how much damage your melee weapon does, you cannot reach him. But the bow is seriously overtuned right now, and most runners tell me that because I refuse to play the bow. I hate playing ranged weapons, but they tell me that it got even easier. And get this, short range abilities are not the ideal way to do damage anymore, so this means that you can stay at max distance the entire time with no penalty whatsoever, do brain dead combos over and over and over, and you still have 2 really good melee dodging abilities, so you can reposition and make distance again to keep doing your brain dead combos. And for doing absolutely nothing, you get rewarded with the best freaking damage in the game. Fair. That's very fair. If you have 2 toms, and they do not have to be opposing toms, you can play the bow. If you want a little bit of challenge because you have some respect for yourself, you may wanna try out the dual blades. However, the dual blades are kinda slept on right now. Don't get me wrong, the dual blade mains are pretty happy. They are traditionally elemental weapons, but to my knowledge there is no elemental weapons in the beta, so whatever you see in the beta is less damage than you're probably gonna get in the real game. I gotta say that the animations look a little lame. I don't know, especially the female characters, they just look like their back is like completely tied up, completely still, and they just move their arms and nothing else. It's kinda mid. Dual blades with focus mode have the fastest attacks in a row in a combo, so they are the best weapon for popping wounds, and that means they are gonna do a decent amount of damage. The best known damage combo right now, it is just to go Sicko mode, I mean demon mode, and you can spam blade dance over and over and you do nothing else. Fun. But hey, dual blades are kind of easy, they do decent damage, and they will most likely get better when the game comes out and we get to actually put elemental damage in our weapons. So I really recommend them. Light bowgun is an overall weaker version of the heavy bowgun currently, but it is still a freaking bowgun. It still has demon ammo, it is still ranged, and it still has decent damage. So it will never not be a good weapon, but you probably just want to go for heavy bowgun for now. It also feels a little more boring. You can play it, but people are gonna think you're lame. I mean, you're a grown man, you can handle that, right? The charged blade is the better version of the Switch Axe right now. The charged blade has also a sword mode and an axe mode. The main thing that makes it really strong right now is that the charged attacks do a lot of damage. Also, if you're in sword mode and you perform a perfect block, you can instantly change into power axe mode and you can do a lot of extra damage. That's also the main reason. In theory, the charged blade has the highest damage output in the game, even though it is not as mobile or convenient or sticky as the other good melee weapons right now, so it may not really translate into the best damage. However, in team play, when you get like more people holding the mob still, or like the mob is not trying to hit you every time, so you do not have to dodge as much, in that scenario I can totally see the charged blade being the best weapon in the game. For the sake of completionism, I am also gonna talk about the sword and shield. Well, the sword and shield, it is fast and you can pop wounds with it. You can also use items without sheathing your weapon, so yay. It's a sword and shield, man. You're boring. If you played, you're boring. I'm sorry. A weapon I do not recommend for anybody at any situation is gonna be the lance. It simply is not a very good weapon right now. It does terrible damage. The moveset is It doesn't make a lot of sense right now. The combos do not feel right. It feels slower than the previous games. And Capcom agrees. And they are gonna change the entire moveset for release. So even if this wasn't a problem, even if the lance was a really good weapon, it is gonna be a waste of time to play it in the beta because they are gonna change it entirely. So you are not getting any practice at all. Wait for full release to try the lance. That's what I would say about it. Overall, I do not think the weapons in Monster Hunter Wilds are atrocious. I don't think there is, except the lance. The lance is the only one. All the other weapons feel even a little better than the original world. Maybe also the switch axe is a bit of a downgrade. Naturally, not all weapons are gonna translate into the new mechanics we got now, and that's something that Capcom is gonna have to grapple with for a while. I understand the focus mode, I kinda like it. I do not like the swapping weapons mechanic they introduce. I am not a fan of it. I am not saying I am never gonna like it, but they are gonna have to earn my trust on this one. If you are an exceptionally good player and you wanna participate in the Invitational Tournament, join the Discord and submit your runs to me, because I will consider you. We are gonna be streaming on this very channel the tournament on the 9th of February at 4 p.m. EST for everybody to try it out. And also the previous day, the 8th, we are gonna stream a mock tournament with the chat so we can make sure everything is working honky-dory and such. Subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.